What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the California Underground Podcast. I'm your host, Phil. As always, with me is my trusty co-host, the best and fastest researcher in the West, Camille. How are you doing tonight on this special night of all nights in
I'm so
politics?
excited. Are you so excited? I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is, we've been looking forward to this for, this is a different episode we're going to be doing tonight. We'll be live streaming the debate. We're going to be doing our best to fact check live while also playing a drinking game. So it's been Newsom versus Desantis. I guess it's COVID freedom versus COVID lockdowns. That seems to be the whole debate. Should we get into the drinking game rules before we get started, before this
Sure.
goes live? Okay.
Yes.
Let me pull those up. Because we had to figure out to make it a little bit more fun than just watching a debate. So,
Well, right. This is what is even this debate? This is so we have never had two governors that are, I mean, one's running for president, but they're just debating each other just to prove a point.
I guess. Well, we all know Newsom is doing this because he wants to. He's going to run for president, whether it's in 2024 or 2028. Either way, we know he's going to run. Like it's inevitable. He's going to run. We don't know if DeSantis is going to run again in 2028. There's a good chance he could. You know, there's a lot of candidates who don't do it the first time around and then they come back. So I especially I think because DeSantis is floundering a little bit right now when it comes to the presidential campaign, this is probably for him an opportunity to, I guess, jumpstart his campaign and show he can take people like Gavin Newsom and get enough sound bites to get people excited about him again.
So the rules.
The rules.
The rules are here.
Okay. Here are the rules. We'll do our best to remind you throughout the entire podcast, our entire show. It is Newsom says Biden has put on a master class, because he says that all the time about Joe Biden. Anytime DeSantis says woke, 2 drinks if he says woke liberal agenda together. Newsom says California is leading the way. Every time DeSantis says folks, Newsom says meet the moment. Or every time, as always, as a disclaimer, responsible, don't drink more than you should or you need to. Make sure you drink plenty of water. And all these rules mean sip. Don't chug a full drink every time it happens. Don't take a shot every time this happens. So that's our disclaimer. Be responsible. Enjoy. Have a good time. We both got our drinks.
I'm going with the light. And looking at these rules, I'm like, is this even enough?
Yeah. Well, I just bought a fresh, so we'll see how far we get.
You have. Tonight. I have a real drink here. Like this is vodka, Chambord, and soda.
Well,
but I also have plenty of. You're like, well, that's my game. I'll do what I want.
I filled up my water. So. All right. So everyone out there who is watching live, out on it, as well as YouTube and Rumble. So yeah. Who's excited? We got a couple more minutes. So I think it's a good chance right now to talk about the fact that we have the rest of the year planned out podcast wise while we're waiting for this whole thing to start. Shall we go into the schedule for the rest of the year for the 2023? We have it all booked up.
Sure.
Next week we have, remind me his name again. He's an expert in central digital currency.
Joe.
Okay.
And yeah, we're going to be talking about I don't even know anything about that subject, but central banking.
Yeah, a lot of people had, reached out to me in messages. And this is one subject that has come up a lot, and not necessarily related to California, but this is always a subject that seems to be coming up. I'll admit, I don't really know anything about it outside of the fact that I just don't want the government to control centralized way. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to have him on. Who do we have on the week after that?
Sonia Shaw, Chino Valley school president, who is making national news left and right. People love to hate her and love to love her.
And then on the 19th, we're having the Christian Caucus on, fitting right before Christmas. The Christian Caucus is a group of libertarians who have started a caucus showing that you can be Christian and libertarian. So yeah, that'll be fun. So we got the rest of the year booked up. 2024 is going to be, I think it's going to be just as big, if not bigger. Also, Neil has been co-host of the California Underground podcast. Isn't that right?
Yes, December 1st was my first co-host episode. December 1st.
She has made it 1 year, and I asked her if it was everything she thought it would be, if it was cracked up to be, and she said, no, I changed my mind. I
said, goodbye, I'm leaving.
I quit.
I quit. I didn't say that at all. Can I say something for a moment? Awkwardly, because I don't really get all emotional and sappy, but thank you. Thank you very much for letting me do this and not firing me for the last year. But, I've been a stay-at-home mom for 18 years now. And so that means I have not been in the workplace at all. And so I'm like very behind on what's going on as far as just technology and everything. I'm like the old person, who has to try to learn new things. But, you've given me this opportunity and suddenly I'm doing things that I haven't, I have to relearn. You're letting me do graphic design and video editing. And of course, I know how to research, but there's just and I'm suddenly contacting people. I'm having to actually go out and contact the communications directors for the different people that we're trying to have on. And so I really appreciate that. Suddenly I've been getting to do things again that I haven't needed to do or anything. And it's just been great for me. And I love being on the podcast. I have so much fun on it. So thank you.
Well, love having you on. Yeah, I don't think people understand, and not to get super mushy before this all kicks off in 1 minute. But I don't think people realize how much work Camille does behind the scenes as well to make it smoothly. And she probably kicks my ass more than anybody to keep doing what we're doing, and tells me you should be posting, you should be doing this. So it's been great having you on, and hopefully for another year and more years after that. And so cheers.
I'm not fired yet. Don't start drinking yet.
Well, I'm thirsty. So, all right, everyone who's watching, I see a bunch of people are hanging out in the chat. Let us know you're here. Tell us what drink you are drinking tonight, if you're drinking. If not, put it in the chat what you're drinking. And it looks like we're about to get started in about 15 seconds. So let's pull this up. And
any predictions real quick?
Both will come out and say that they're the winner and that they wiped the floor with the other.
Fair enough.
So, all right, let's do this. Here we go.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight we are broadcasting live just north of Atlanta, Georgia, in Alpharetta, Georgia, where in just a moment we're going to hear from the Republican governor of Florida, the Democratic governor of the great state of California, for what is the first ever red state, blue state debate right here on the Fox News channel. Now, we will do our best to give equal time to each governor. We will limit answers to 60 seconds per question. We'll be a little flexible as needed. Let the debate breathe, along with a 30-second time for rebuttal. Let me start by introducing both Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, California Governor Gavin Newsom. Governors, thank you both for being here. Really appreciate it.
Great to be with you, Sean.
I know both of you personally. I've known you both for a long time. I know you're very busy. I also know this. I know that both of you love your individual states.
Yeah.
I know you both have a deep and abiding love for our country, as I do. But where we are in the country, we've never kind of been this divided in a long time. There are clear and deep and profound differences in your approach to governance. And before we begin, one quick note to all of you that are watching at home. Okay, I'm now the longest running primetime cable host in the history of cable news. I'm now, and I feel blessed, in my 28th year at Fox. It's kind of widely known that I am a conservative. However, tonight I will be moderating this debate. I will not be part of the debate. Our questions tonight will be coming from well-sourced, fact-centered perspectives, and you will see and hear most of tonight's questions will deal with the most fundamental issues, the ones that impact the lives of the people that make this country great, the people in Florida, the people in California, and in many ways, every state in the country. We'll discuss taxes, the economy, immigration, crime, guns, homelessness, education, parental rights, abortion, gas prices. In other words, the things that impact you every single day. In the end, you will get to decide which governing philosophy you believe is better. The governors will explain their governing philosophy. And again, fact-based questions. So let's get started.
Just in case anyone's wondering, this is going on in
droves
Georgia
in favor of red states.
Ground.
You can see numbers on the screen right now from the years 2021 and 2022. These particular numbers are stark in the state that you lead. In the case of you, Governor Newsom, according to the U.S. Census, this is where the numbers come from. 2022, California's lost 750,000 residents to other states. Governor Desantis, during that same two-year period, you gained 454,000 residents from other states. So Governor Desantis, we had a coin toss. I was not part of it. I missed it. But apparently, Governor Newsom, you won the coin toss. And you chose to let Governor DeSantis have the first question. You will get the last word tonight. So I begin with you. For Governor Newsom, I will ask, what your response is on this as well. It's a simple question. How do you explain this phenomenon? Governor, what's going on?
When I was in the Navy, I got orders to go to Naval Amphibious Base Coronado in Southern California. And I was a lifelong Floridian, but I went there and I was like, man, this is one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I think California has more natural advantages than any state in the country. You almost have to try to mess California up. And yeah, that's what Gavin Newsom has done since he's been governor. He's the first governor to ever lose population. They actually at one point ran out of U-Hauls in the state of California because so many people were leaving. Of course, he's imposed restrictions on his own people while exempting himself from those restrictions and going to the French Laundry. He led the country in school closures, locking kids out while he had his own kids in private school in person. Now, he's very good at spinning these tales. He's good at being slick and slippery. He'll tell a blizzard of lies to be able to try to mask the failures. But the reality is they have failed because of his leftist ideology. And the choice, what Biden do is take the California model and do that nationally. In Florida, we showed that conservative principles work. This country must choose freedom over failure.
Governor Newsom, your reaction.
Well, it's good to be with you, Sean. It's nice also to see you in a tie as well tonight. Good to be with you, Ron. And I
dressed up for the occasion, Governor.
No, I'm impressed, and I'm grateful for the occasion. This is an important conversation, and I think it's probably wondering, what are we actually doing here? And I'll tell you why I'm here. I'm here to tell the truth about the Biden-Harris record and also compare and contrast Ron DeSantis' record and the Republican Party's record as a point of contrast that's as different as daylight and darkness. You want to bring us back to a pre-1960s world, America in reverse.
Why is Ron DeSantis so awkward?
Hard-earned national rights, on voting rights, on civil
rights. His smile is just like he can't figure out when he needs to smile. It's so
abortion, but also
someone needs to sit down with Ron and work on this stuff.
You want to weaponize grievance. You are focused on false separateness. You in particular, Ron, are on a banning binge, a cultural purge, intimidating and humiliating people you disagree with. You and President Trump are really trying to light democracy on fire. So there are profound differences tonight, and I look forward to engage them. But there's one thing in closing that we have in common. Us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
Governor,
didn't answer the question.
It didn't address the issue. Can you explain this migration out of California and going to red states?
President Trump was mentioned, so you have to drink.
I was just going to say that.
Californians going to Florida.
No, I put up on.
By the way, that's going to be fun to fact check. So we'll just start right there. California has no peers California dominates, sizable 21 nations combined. It's the 5th largest economy in the world. We dominate, #1 manufacturing state. We dominate in two-way trade and research and development, access to innovation, more. It's the birthplace of life science and biotech and nanotechnology. We dominate in green tech. We dominate in high tech. We dominate in artificial intelligence. So with respect, I think it's a strategy for Ron DeSantis to be bashing a state of 40 million Americans when California simply has no peers.
Well, that's a pretty slick way of not answering your question. He went on a binge of putting out a lot of left-wing. That's what I would say. I talked to a lot of the people that have moved from California to Florida, and we never used to get people from California to Florida or really anywhere in these, because why would you leave California? It's got the best weather, great natural forces. Excuse me, sir. So, but one of the things that I was talking to a gentleman, a couple.
Guys, I'm going to let the debate breathe, but it's his turn. Let's take turns.
So I was talking to a fella who had made the move to Florida, and he was telling me that Florida is much better governed, safe, lower taxes, all this stuff. And he's really happy with the quality of life. And then he paused and he said, by the way, I'm Gavin Newsom's father-in-law. So we do count Gavin's in-laws as some of the people that have fled California and come to the state. Why are we getting people to come? We have a 50-year low in the crime.
We break the internet.
And they're like, we want to thank you for standing for law enforcement support in the state of California. So people understand quality of life matters. They understand that Florida's doing it right. And I can tell you the numbers speak for themselves. We have way more people moving to this state than leaving. The opposite. More people are leaving California than are moving into California.
Let me bring up
coming to the last 2 years. But let's talk about crime.
Governor, hold on. Governor, wait a minute. Hold on a second.
You said a lot of things that were factually untrue, including that 50-year crime low, which his own law enforcement team said should not be used.
You have yet to address the issue, but I asked you twice. You don't want to answer it. But the issue out of red states, out of blue states.
We just established more Floridians coming to California in the last 2 years than the
overall. You had a net loss of 7.
It's a fact.
Asserted it.
It's a fact.
No, it's not a fact.
It is a fact.
Moving on. Let's go. Your states have vastly different income tax rates. Okay, it is what it is. California's highest rate for top earners, 13%. Married couple, for example, in California, earning a median income of $84,000, they have a 6% income tax in the state of California. Florida's income tax rate is 0% across all salaries, but it goes beyond income taxes. Property taxes are lower in California, but everything else is higher. Let's take a look at the numbers. These are the facts. The average property tax in California, 0.75%, Florida, 0.91%. Sales tax, California, 7.25%.
And I'd like to just point out, it goes into a thing about how property tax and it all evens out based on the numbers. The only reason property tax is better in California is Prop 13, which Democrats and Gavin Newsom have been trying to overturn, because the Howard Jarvis Institute put it together. So before he tries to say, well, if you even it out, our property tax, blah, blah, blah. So.
This is a very different, different. I agree with you completely. He has one of the most regressive tax rates in the United States of America. It's the #3 most regressive state in America. And what that means is simply this. Who does he tax? He taxes low-income workers more than we tax millionaires and billionaires in the state of California. The question is a simple one. Who, Ron, are you for? It's a factual lie that the state of California has high tax rate, but for whom? And it's a foundational and fundamental difference. You look at states like Texas, overwhelming majority of Texans pay more taxes than the state of California. So again, it's who you're for. Those values matter, and I appreciate you bringing up the issue of taxes.
How many people leave Florida to go to California because they pay less taxes? I've not seen that. Are people going from Florida to New York because they pay less taxes? Of course not. They come to Florida because they pay lower taxes. We don't even have an income tax. And yet California has a higher sales tax than we do. And that's one of the things that we do. But here's the thing. And I'll give Gavin credit. He did at least admit in his first answer, he's joined at the hip with Biden and Harris. He thinks Biden and Harris have done a great job. He thinks the economy is working because of their policies for Americans, and they are not. And so what California represents is the Biden-Harris agenda on steroids. They would love nothing more than to get 4 more years to be able to model nationally. That would be disastrous for working people in this country.
Let's talk about working people. They pay more in your state than the state of California charges for billionaires and millionaires, and it's just a value proposition.
True.
It's a fact. Again, you can't make.
You have $6 or $7 a gallon gas. How do they afford that? These are folks that are blue collar people. You're going to force everybody to buy an electric vehicle. How are they going to be able to afford electric vehicles if you're working class people? And I think the thing about California, they have one of the highest inequality rates because, yeah, they've got Silicon Valley billionaires. They've got a lot of very wealthy people. They've got a lot of people that are on government assistance, but they've hollowed out their middle class. That's who's been leaving California. They've been leaving in other places. They go to Arizona. They go to Nevada. They go to all these places.
Let me just
like Biden is hollowing out this country.
I do have a follow-up question.
In California.
Ron, I'm happy that you continue to talk. Let's talk a little bit about Bidenomics because I'm happy to take that on right now as well. And I think it's
You're
a fair
big
point.
Supporter of it. I appreciate you acknowledging
14 million jobs, times more than the last Republican presidents combined.
Because he had
815,000 manufacturing
the jobs were because of the COVID lockdowns. Are you kidding me?
3.9%. Used to talk over me. I'll talk to the American people. 3.9% unemployment, the lowest black unemployment in American history, the lowest unemployment for Hispanics in American history, the lowest unemployment for women in 70 years, the lowest black poverty rates in history. That's this administration's agenda. And by the way, as you smile and smirk over there, you should know this, the American people. Here's a guy who celebrated Bidenomics just this week, celebrating $28 million that came into your state because of the Chips and Science Act, one of the most significant economic plans since FDR. I'm proud of the work Biden and Harris have done.
Would you like to respond? And I do have a follow-up. The 6% rate on people, families, couple in California, they pay 6% income tax on $84,000 a year.
Low-wage workers in the state of Florida pay more than billionaire state of California.
I didn't ask about Florida.
Governor,
30. But here's let me ask the question.
Let me ask the question. To try to cover for his
Ron, if I may answer the question. Okay. California has lower taxes, lower than 32 states for families in the middle class, significantly lower taxes than places like Texas.
You support a 6% income tax for people, a couple
I'm against progressive taxes that advantage billionaires and millionaires over working families and the working poor. People in his state pay more taxes on the low end than we tax people on the high end.
How does paying $7 a gallon gas help working people? That doesn't help working people at all. How does paying an 8% sales tax help working people? That doesn't help working people at all. They have the highest taxes in the nation. People flee to be able to save money to get out of California. And you have that move to these other states, their dollars go much further. But here's the thing. They want to take this Bidenomics and they want to double down on this for the next 4 years. How many people are able to afford groceries now compared to what you were doing 3 or 4 years ago? I talked to a woman who had a cart full of groceries going in, and they're ringing it up. And it got to be so expensive, she has to take a lot of the stuff out. That didn't used to be the case. People used to be able to work hard and get ahead. That is not true under Joe Biden. And you know what, Sean, one more final thing. California's unemployment rate is 60% higher than Florida's unemployment rate. Rate is 2.8%.
That dovetails into my next question, Governor.
Because it's a command and control economy. They have a political agenda that they're pursuing.
Let me question people. On with the question of jobs. I think it's important. You know what? That affects that affects everybody.
Biden administration, the last 3 years, been a master
Joe Biden paying you tonight
3.9%.
Master class.
America. I thought this guy was running for president of the United States. If
You
you're
are
running
too.
for
You just
Called
wanted
it. I knew he was going to say it
to
sooner or later.
Yeah.
You will not admit it.
Why don't
All right, gentlemen.
I will say I don't
We
think
can't talk- I'm going to move on to the next
this is
question.
one area
The
that
unemployment
this is
rate
why I think this
in
is
Florida
important
right
is because
now
we
is
know
just
he's going to run for
2.8%,
president
as you
eventually, Gavin
stated.
Newsom.
And
And I don't
California
think he
ranks
looked
second
good on
worst
that
in the
whole taxing
country
issue.
at
He tried to
4.8%.
explain it in a
Hold on,
way
this question goes
where
to
he fudged
Governor
the numbers,
DeSantis, and then you'll have a
but
chance
I
to
think
respond.
at the
Governor DeSantis.
most people will watch
Right.
that
I
and
mean,
go,
they tax
I
too
don't
much, they
believe for a
regulate
second
too
that
much, they have a
California has better
political agenda. It's
taxation
not a good climate for
than
business.
Florida.
They've
So
lost
that's
a
one
lot of
issue he's
companies.
going to have
A lot
to,
of companies have
when
moved
he
to
does
Texas.
eventually
We
run
have
for
had
president,
some
he's
to
going to have
Florida,
to
but
do a
they've
better
lost a
job
lot
of
of
trying to
companies
say
to
it, but
Texas
he
because
did
they're
not
not
look
doing a
good
good job
on that
looking out for
exchange.
folks and not creating a good business environment.
Folks.
And when I have people that come
Did
to
he say
Florida,
folks?
they tell me,
Oh boy.
you guys
Now it's
actually want
ramping
us
up.
to succeed in Florida. And they feel like when they're in California, they don't want business to succeed.
Is that what
and all
Disney's
that
saying?
stuff.
The Tampa Bay Rays?
Well, actually,
that what
yeah,
all these
I
other
think that's an
private sector
interesting point with
corporations are saying?
Disney because
Please.
I know.
inexplicably for over a year following science, you were a lockdown governor. You did a lot of damage to your people.
Oh.
You had more kids locked out of school for a longer period of time in California than anywhere else in the country. It was the working class kids. It was the middle income kids. His kids were in private school. They were in class in person.
We'll get to
I know,
COVID.
He
Hold on.
locked people out because of the teachers union.
You're gonna,
He is owned by the teachers union. You will never cross the teachers
this is
union.
just a lot of hot air.
Lock, stock, and
Let's
barrel.
talk about COVID. Let's talk about your record on COVID. You passed an emergency declaration before the state of California did. You closed down your beaches, your bars, your restaurants.
False.
It's a fact.
The beaches
You had
were not
quarantines.
False.
You had quarantines. You had checkpoints all over the state of Florida. By the way, I didn't say that. Donald Trump laid you out on this. Dead to right. You did
not
that.
true.
You followed science. You followed Fauci.
That's
Ron
not-
Santis.
that's
Trump.
not
He
false.
followed science.
not
He
true.
followed Fauci. You
And
were
why did
promoting.
everyone leave
Hold on.
California
You were
to come to
promoting
Florida because we
vaccines.
were open.
You were promoting
We were
vaccines. You
open.
even
We were
wore a
closed.
mask in
we
September.
were open.
Sean,
You were closed.
if it's okay with you, we'll do this.
Why were you
Why don't
closed
we do
for
this
so
in a way
long?
where we both can have
Why were you closed for
opportunity?
so long?
You wore
You
a
were
mask
closed.
with
All right, guys,
Donald
guys,
Trump
closed.
I'm
outside
trying to let it breathe.
in September
Gavin,
2020. He did all of
Governor
that
Newsom.
until he decided to fall prey to the fringe of his party. And as a consequence of that, Ron, tens of thousands of people lost their lives.
Not true.
The equivalent, if I had your policies, the equivalent of 10 9/11s, tens of thousands of people lost their lives. And for what, Ron?
Those are more lies. In fact, the Lancet just did a study. Florida had a lower standardized COVID death rate than California did. That's a Lancet study.
let me-
One more thing. One more thing. The other thing we had, the other thing California had, California had higher excess mortality than.
All right,
than
gentlemen,
Florida.
gentlemen.
Let me talk about the excess mortality real quick.
Honestly,
Because the
hold on a
excess
second.
mortality is other
I
things.
want to ask you both. If slow down, I want everyone to be heard. If I can ask you, I really do want this to breathe. I want this debate to breathe. I want it to organically develop. To do that, I need both your cooperation. I don't want to be a hall monitor. It's not my style. All right. You mentioned COVID. Let me go to COVID. And I plan to bring this up later, but you both took very different approaches as it comes to COVID. Governor Newsom, you issued the nation's first stay-at-home order on March 19th of 2020. Governor DeSantis, you took a lot of heat for reopening schools. You opened schools in Florida in August of 2020. All right, so here's the data, which I think is important. This is where the facts come in. Your state's death rates were almost identical.
This is factually untrue.
Hold on.
Factually untrue.
Okay. And by the way, both
The
your
CDC
states
is
with such
factually
different
untrue.
approaches, which is pretty fascinating, were both lower, significantly lower than the national average. These numbers come straight from the CDC. So, Governor Newsom, how do you explain that?
The facts. Per capita death rates
That's what that is.
in the state of Florida were 29%, 29% per capita higher. 29%.
That's not what the stats say right there.
People, tens of thousands of people
Don't lie
unnecessarily
about
died.
it. He put the graphic
Tens
up
of
there. Don't
thousands of
lie
people
about it.
Unnecessarily
You don't need to lie
died
about it.
because your policies.
Just understand.
You're
You
lying
don't
about
need to
your
lie
record.
about it. No, it's not.
You were a lockdown governor.
it's
You
not.
locked down.
All right, one at a time.
schools.
Gavin
You
Newsom,
locked
finish
down
your thought.
beaches, bars,
I
and
don't.
restaurants. That's
Can
just a
someone
fact.
explain
He's running
this
away from
move
his record.
by
He's running away from the fact.
Ron, why
Tens
he's
of
putting his
thousands of
hands on
people
his hips
died
like
You
this?
saw,
unnecessarily
the
because
CDC
he
numbers.
You can't
paid
figure,
to the-
he's like Will Ferrell in
29%
Anchorman. He's like, I can't figure
higher
out what to do with my
death
hands.
rate in the state of Florida versus the state of California.
Okay, quick response, Governor.
You showed the stats. The stats are very clear.
One at a time.
On a per capita age-adjusted basis, California and Florida basically the same. Now, why is that important? Because Gavin Newsom did huge damage to people in California. He ruined livelihoods. We reopened the state very quickly. Thousands of jobs. We saved hundreds of thousands of jobs, thousands of businesses. We had our kids in school. He had the kids locked out of school because of the teachers union. That is having a generational impact. California has one of the lowest literacy rates in the country. In the most recent NAEP exam, Florida came in number 3 for 4th grade reading. California was far, far behind. So you should apologize for not getting your kids in school. Why didn't you get the kids in school in the summer of 2020 like we did?
The only
you bowed to the teachers union. You didn't do the job you should have done.
All right.
The only person,
quick,
the only person
one at a time,
apologize
quick answer.
is Ron DeSantis for the tens of thousands of lives that died unnecessarily because he played to the fringe of his party.
We got to take a break.
And
finish your thought.
No, and when it comes to the issue of schools, you better be careful. You had more learning loss during COVID than the national average in the state of California. It's a fact. More learning loss. Your economy contracted more in 2020.
Quick break.
Expanded slower than California in 2021. More to come on this topic.
More to come on this debate. I know it's starting off
next segment, I guess.
It's been rather dull.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we know first off that he's full of crap when it comes to the learning loss because California suffered some of the worst learning loss, and you would know more about that than anybody, right?
Red state debate.
He loves to say his stuff and then just say it's a fact. It's a fact. Doesn't make it a fact just because you say it's a fact.
No. And I was reading that, what is it? California is 39th in education right now. So,
I thought it was lower.
Well, according to Cal Matters, let's see. They put out some helpful graphs and everything like that. Now we're in the middle of watching commercials.
All right, everyone in the chat, if you're in the chat, say hi. Tell us what you're drinking. Tell us where you're watching.
Tell us what you're drinking. Who do you think's doing better right now? Say what's up. Thank you for joining us on a little bit earlier than usual, but because of the debate, we had to start a little bit earlier. Let's see. I have this. I was literally just looking at it this morning. Education. On the test score front, California lags slightly behind Florida in reading and math, but both states are near the national average. California spends significantly more per student, $16,300 per year, than Florida, which is near the bottom at $11,800. So they spend less and they actually do better than California. Yeah, I saw somewhere that said they were 39th in test scores. So
still awful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not great. I mean, for him to brag about California leading the way.
So much money that we pour into education here.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how Ron just looks so uncomfortably awkward? Like he just looks like his suit doesn't fit him and like he just can't wait to go home and change.
Yeah, it's surprising for the amount of money he's raised for himself that he doesn't have anyone who just like a coach to teach him like, okay, Ron, yeah, just like anybody to be like, this is how you stand at a podium. This is what you do. Here's your movements. Like Gavin, I will give him credit. We've said this before. He's a very slick politician. He's got the movement down. He knows the hand gestures and all that stuff. He looks cool, calm, and collected up there. Yeah, DeSantis just kind of looks like he doesn't know, do I put my hands on my hips? Do I put one hand on my hip? Do I do this? Do I do that? Yeah, he just can't figure it out. And then like he's smiling, like he thinks he's on camera, so he smile. It's cringe. So but I think he's doing better, I would say. It's interesting because when he's on the debate stage with like all the other Republicans, he doesn't seem to be shining as much. But here yeah, he kind of stays out of it, but I think here he's doing a much better job. He just kind of the one-on-one rather than trying to outshine other people. So it's going, I think it's pretty interesting so far. They haven't really gotten they started yelling at each other a little bit. So we're only half an hour in. Couple drinking rules already broached, so not too bad so far. Donald Trump was mentioned twice, which I was expecting that they were going to do.
I'm trying to get one of my kids to bring me a blanket because I'm freezing. I'm being ignored.
Blanket break. But yeah.
Oh, you can skip this ad.
Oh, I can skip the ad.
Oh, just to get another one.
It just to get to another ad. So everyone who's still out there in the chat, if you're still with us, yeah, it looks like everyone's kind of hanging in there. That's good. It's a half an hour and people haven't abandoned us yet. Yeah, let us know what you think so far, what people are, whether you think Desantis is doing better or Newsom, or let us know your thoughts, what you're drinking, stuff like that. So
she brought me the heated blanket and didn't plug it in.
And we're back.
And welcome back to Hannity as we continue our blue state, red state debate with Governor Gavin Newsom and Governor Ron DeSantis. Gentlemen, let's move on to the issue of borders. Joe Biden's message to illegal immigrants during his campaign was, let them come. I'd have the tape, but I said I wouldn't play the tape. And since taking office, Biden said he's gotten control of the border. Vice President Kamala Harris, Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, Biden's press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre have all said the border is either secure or the border is closed. Yet the Border Patrol says, well, guess what? They have been a record 6.5 million encounters with illegal immigrants and so-called asylum seekers at the border since President Biden took office. The administration says, well, they don't know how many people actually are in the country illegally. Gentlemen, the American people, I ask you, I believe it's your turn, Governor Newsom, have the American people on the issue of borders, you're defending the Biden administration. They're saying the border's secure. They're saying the border's closed. Those are the numbers from our own Border Patrol. Are the American people being lied to?
I don't think they're being lied to. The Biden administration put out a comprehensive plan day one when sworn into office 3 years ago, and the Republican Party didn't touch it. They haven't moved on it. They play politics. I'll be honest with you. I think there's probably one person I wouldn't listen to on this topic more than the guy that I'm standing next to, Ron DeSantis. He lacks any credibility on the issue of immigration. When he was in Congress, he supported amnesty. When he's in Congress, you supported John Boehner's bill. It's a fact.
False.
When you were in Congress, you supported
Obama's.
You supported Obama's efforts to advance comprehensive reform.
False.
The last guy you want to talk to on the issue of immigration, your immigration policy can best be described as a governor from the state of Florida going into another state, the state of Texas, lying to migrants, promising them jobs and housing, sending them to an island, Martha's Vineyard, and then sending them to a parking lot in Sacramento, California. I met with those migrants that you lied to under false pretense. That kind of gamesmanship, using human beings as pawns, I think is disqualifying. So again, a guy who stands here, who's been out on the Republican debate stage saying, well, he's going to be tough, he's going to shoot people with backpacks.
I mean,
and that
I thought the Martha's Vineyard thing was hilarious, personally. So,
trading partner, Mexico,
it really
has a record of supporting amnesty
What's
and
that?
supporting reforms under the Obama administration.
On this issue,
on stage talking about the issue.
given we don't even know what just happened to the homeless people in San Francisco.
Yeah, I'll be once they get onto homelessness. I feel like that's Ron could really open up on homelessness.
They go to the White House briefing room every day. They say the border's secure. They are lying to you. We know that that's not true. Gavin Newsom is lying to you when he says somehow I supported these things, which I didn't do. He's also lying to you about what it's going to take to solve this problem. California is a sanctuary state. They thumb their nose at federal immigration law, and this has real consequences. There was an illegal alien, Herbert Nixon Flores, who was in L.A., in custody. He was a repeat criminal. ICE wanted to take him into custody because then they would be able to deport him. LA refuses to work with ICE, and so they wouldn't turn him over. They end up releasing him on the street. He's murdering the mother of a 3-year-old little girl. Those policies are deadly. They do not work. And I would tell you this, the Martha's Vineyard transport, Martha's Vineyard said it was a sanctuary jurisdiction. Kind of reminds me about Gavin Newsom when he restricted Californians, then he went to the French Laundry. These liberal elites, they like to impose burdens on you. They don't want to have to face the consequences of their actions. So we've got a lot of elites who want open borders, who lecture everybody else about it. Then the minute they have to deal with any of the consequences, oh man, all hell breaks loose.
How about the consequences?
Hold on,
How about
we're moving on. We're moving to the next question.
We'd be much better
on the
off
same
if
topic.
that were the case.
On the same topic, this is important. This is a very important question. While some migrants I know want to come to America for a better life for themselves and their family, find the American dream, I totally sympathize with them. Many good people fleeing very bad situations abroad. But others are abusing the asylum process, and in the process are coming in. They're not being vetted. Look at these numbers. Between October 2021, October 2023, border agents encountered 6,386 nationals from Afghanistan, 3,153 from Egypt, 659 from Iran, the #1 state sponsor, 538 from Syria, 12,605 from Russia, and a whopping 26,113 from China. Now, my question, the next question goes to you, Governor Newsom. What are the odds that Biden's open borders have allowed terrorists and terror cells unvetted into this country? Is that a clear and present danger to every American?
The odds are 100%. Of course, our enemies are going to take advantage of this. He opened the border. He's not. He's violating his oath of office to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. He's knowingly having 8 million come in. And yes, there's criminal aliens. There are terrorists. There's a lot of fentanyl. That we've had tens of thousands of fentanyl deaths. I've met a lot of angel parents who have lost kids.
That's something that Desantis should be pressing Newsom on.
You'll have a college
it's
kid
how much
that may
fentanyl
take
crosses
pill,
the
not
border
knowing
through
that
California.
There's fentanyl in it,
there's
and
a
then
ton.
right there, that can be fatal. They're poisoning our people. And of Biden, Harris, Newsom, open borders, Americans continue to die because of fentanyl overdose. There will be, unfortunately, a terrorist attack at some point that we'll be able to trace back to our southern border.
God forbid. By the way, do you see that risk, Governor Newsom?
Hold on.
Governor, do you see the risk?
Joe Biden put out not only a comprehensive plan, he consistently puts up plans. Hold on, no, but Sean,
is there a risk?
I'm going to answer your question. I support border security. I think the asylum system is broken. I believe that we need.
I understand that.
I'm the only guy here that's a border state governor. You're trolling folks and trying to find migrants to play political games to try to get some news and attention so you can out-Trump Trump. And by the way, how's that going for you, Ron? You're down 41 points in your own home state.
Trump.
On the issue of immigration, Joe Biden put a $14 billion immigration package up in front of Congress, 2,300 border agents, as well as custom officials, 1,000 new law enforcement officers to deal with the fentanyl issue. And by the way, that's a major issue in your state, 41% higher overdose rates than the state of California. And here's what I haven't heard, not a peep from Ron Desantis. They want to demagogue this issue. You want to play politics with issues. You don't want to solve this issue. Why don't you lead your party and support that $14 billion package?
Hold on. I have a follow-up. Governor Newsom, I appreciate your answer. You have mentioned comprehensive immigration reform many times. It's not happened under Joe Biden. I don't think it's going to happen next year.
Put a detailed plan in. Republicans in Congress refused to act on it.
Let me finish my point. Remains. Is this a clear and present danger from the countries I put up on the screen? Is that a clear and present danger to America? And what do you do in the interim?
That's why the President of the United States put a $14 billion package in front of Congress they can act on today.
And what would that?
They haven't done anything in 2 years,
do?
this Congress.
What do you
Literally
support?
not a single piece
you support
of
a border wall?
legislation. I support the $14 billion package President's put forward that includes 2,300 and customs officials. By the way, also includes $850 million in new technology for border security. You hear nothing from Ron DeSantis. You hear nothing You hear nothing from the Republican Party. They play politics.
I'm almost out of time.
The president put the plan up to address
Does it
the
worry?
anxiety
Let me
around
ask the
security.
question another way. Does it worry you that our top geopolitical foes, the #1 state sponsor of terror, Iran, China, Russia, Afghanistan, Syria, that they're at our southern border? You're a border state governor. Does that concern you at all?
Why else would I have put the answer is yes. Why else would I put the National Guard? Why would I have just increased it by 50% on the largest
50%.
port?
50%.
I mean, this guy.
He said it.
There's no. I mean, the fact that you supported amnesty.
For those who don't remember, well, 50%. When he says 50%, what was it? There were like 4 on the border, and he sent 2 more, so that's 50%. Yeah, so he sent 2 more National Guards. He loves to throw that stat around that he increased National Guard at California border by 50% by 2 people.
144 miles of border in California.
2 more National Guardsmen. But it sounds good when you say 50%. It sounds really good.
This is a slick, slippery politician whose state is failing. People are leaving his state, and he's trying to run interference for his failure.
We've got to take our second break. We're gonna, when we come back, we have a lot more. Quick break. We have a lot of ground to cover. More with Governors Desantis and Newsom, the great blue-red state debate, as we continue from Alpharetta, Georgia. Again, thank you for being with us.
Okay. On the second part.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so border, another thing that I think Newsom absolutely loses on. Hard to argue there, but he did put 50% more National Guard on the border. He put 2 more National Guardsmen. So
the #1 thing he goes down in history for is when he increased the National Guard by 50%.
I think Ron's handling himself much better than he does in the Republican national debate. So if your goal as Ron DeSantis tonight is to revive your campaign and show you can actually stand toe-to-toe with a Democrat, and I think Newsom is a much harder debate opponent than Joe Biden would be. I think he's succeeding right now, but I think you could probably take Vivek Ramaswamy or Nikki Haley, and all of them would be, Newsom right now. Of course, Nikki Haley would be trying to figure out how she can squeeze going to war into the debate, but
I'm actually surprised DeSantis hasn't. Surprised he hasn't declared war on California, actually.
Just a new civil war. Florida is just going to declare war on
Florida versus California war.
I think he's done a very good job. I don't know if Sean Hannity also is. I think he's fair enough. He's tough. I think he's tougher on Newsom than he is on DeSantis, which is expected. He is conservative leaning. He's not. I mean, I just feel any pointed questions towards DeSantis as he does for Newsom. I feel like all the graphics are like, look, California sucked on this. Your response, Gavin Newsom. Okay, your state sucked on this. Why? What are your thoughts? So. I was looking at some other thing. Kevin Kiley, a friend of the show, Congressman Kevin Kiley, is live fact checking on his tweets right now.
Fun.
So some of them that he said, one was Newsom claims tens of thousands of lives died unnecessarily because of Florida's COVID policies. In fact, excess mortality for California and Florida was the same between 2020 and 2022, despite California having the benefit of a much younger population. So if you take into account, and that's something that a lot of people don't really the same, that bodes well for Florida. He also says Newsom accused DeSantis of shutting down schools, according to a Burbio's tracker. I don't know who Burbio is. Florida was 3rd out of 50 in reopening schools. California was 50th out of 50.
Oh,
so
wow.
interesting one. Newsom claims the working class pays lower taxes in California than in Florida. In fact, total taxes are $10,167 per person in California. It's $5,406 in Florida. California is the third highest cost of living in the country. California has the highest gas prices in the country. California has the highest real poverty rate in the country. And California had the lowest wage growth in the country last year. So if you are looking for more fact check, head over to Kevin Kiley's page. He is doing live fact. Actually, he hasn't done a fact check in 11 minutes. So, but doing our best to fact check as much as possible. I didn't think the Trump thing I threw in at the last minute for the drinking rules because I was like, he's going to get mentioned once or twice. But so far, that's the biggest rule that has been violated so far is Trump being mentioned.
Any comments? Those watching on YouTube and Rumble, thoughts?
Yeah, let us know your thoughts. Unless you're watching this at the comfort of your couch and watching on TV. Thank you for watching on TV. It's not easy. You can't. I don't think you can. You chat on TV. I don't think you can. So, all right.
I don't want to be the hall monitor. Please don't turn me into that. Anyway, let's look at the issue of crime. FBI numbers violent crime nationally for each of your states. Keep in mind, this statistic shows what is the combined rate of homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, the year 2022. On the national level, the rate was 380.7 offenses per 100,000 people. In California, meanwhile, the rate was much higher, 499.5 offenses per 100,000.
These graphics
in Florida, lower,
are leading the witness right now.
Offenses per 100,000.
And I'm not trying to defend Newsom. I'm just pointing out that Sean is putting up graphics that definitely benefit DeSantis over Newsom.
How do you explain that when safety and security, I would argue, is a prerequisite for the pursuit of happiness?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. We're near 50-year lows, down 55% violent crimes in the state of California from the 1990s. And I want to compare and contrast that with the issue in Florida that you didn't mention, and that's the murder rate. And let's broaden it more broadly. The issue is 7 of the top
Those numbers
10,
were part of the murder rate.
7 of the top 10 murder rates in the United States of America are states. He has a 66% higher gun death rate than the state of California. He has a higher murder rate. Go to places like Jacksonville, Orlando. Go to places like Tampa. The murder rate's off the charts compared to cities like San Francisco. And you know what? Even more egregiously, Sean, and I think this is important, the American people deserve an answer from you, Ron. You had one of the worst mass shootings in American history, Parkland. 17 kids were gunned down, 17 others, lives torn asunder. You had a young girl by the name of Jamie Gutenberg, whose father pleaded with you to do something about it. And you know what you did? You did the exact opposite. You made it easier for felons to get guns without background checks, without any training. These people pleaded with you, the parents and the families, to get tough on gun safety. And again, you made it easier for felons.
21, the last year for which Florida statistics are available, the statewide homicide rate was 6.7 per 100,000 people. In California in 2021, per 100,000. In 2022, it was down to 5.7% or 5.7 per 100,000. The overall trend in California, however, between 2017 and 2022, the homicide rate was up 24%.
Back in your home state and address the murder and gun violence in your own backyard.
So this is the slick politician. You put up the rates. He has 500 per 100,000. Florida is 250. So that's almost twice as much. And he's trying to spin that to say California's doing good. People are leaving California in droves, largely because public safety has collapsed. They have. I mean, you go when Californians come to Florida, one of the things they'll say, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. They can go to the store, get toothpaste off the shelf, pay for it. Place in California, everything's under lock and key because they basically legalized retail theft. They have chosen in California to put the interests of the criminals over public safety. They treat they're easier on sex offenders. They're easier on all these crimes that are leading to a collapse in the quality of life. And if you just walk around San Francisco, you will see, and I think it's interesting, Gavin Newsom was mayor of San Francisco. So he took the San Francisco model, turned that into a
Wait, I got to, hold on, Governor, no, I got a follow-up question. You brought up
Jacksonville, Florida, San Francisco is 126% higher.
Governor,
In
let me bring up
Orlando, it's 84%
the next question
higher.
dovetails
In
into
Tampa,
this.
it's 75% higher. What?
Let me also say,
what are you talking about when it comes to this?
I know you like to jabber.
By the way, those are all easily
I know you like to lie.
Anytime you're uncomfortable,
he put the statistics up there.
Those are all
your crime is higher. We know your crime's higher.
Gentlemen,
what are you
I'm going to move on.
Gun murder rate in your state.
We'll let the audience look at the numbers, the FBI numbers, and decide. According to the gun control advocacy group, every town for gun safety.
Yep.
Okay. California has the most, as you support, I know, Governor, restrictive gun laws in the United States.
Yes.
Florida has the 19th most restrictive. Yet, if you look at the year 2019, when each of you took office, California has had 21 mass shootings. Florida has had 9. Now, that is according to a USA Today, AP, Northeastern University database data. Keep in mind, a mass killing is defined as the intentional killing of 4 or more victims, excluding the deaths of unborn children and the offenders by any means within a 24 period of time. I believe, Governor DeSantis, you get this first. Go ahead.
What California wants to do is they want to make it harder for law-abiding citizens to defend themselves. Then they go easy on the criminals who are perpetrating the crime. They don't stand up for the men and women of law enforcement. That's why a lot of people have left the state, because they don't get the support from the communities that they need. And, you know, Gavin told another lie. He said we made it easier for felons to do. Felons are not allowed to possess firearms. That's federal law. That's been long standing.
No background checks.
That is an absolute lie. He's saying like that. That has nothing to do with buying or purchasing a weapon. So that's just the law that's coming up. But here's the thing. People are leaving California in droves.
I'm pretty sure.
Failed to stand up
and
for
again,
safety.
I'm
They
almost
are on an
99% sure.
Joyride
When I go to
let people
purchase a
out of
gun,
prison
you have
early,
to get
to
a
go
federal
easy.
background
Heck,
check.
your buddy,
So
Gavin's
I'm pretty sure
buddy
that's
in Los
federal law
Angeles,
that you
Gas
have to get a
Stone,
background
he doesn't
check.
even
So
prosecute. When
that's
you
not
have,
up to the states to
when I
really
was in Southern
decide.
California for the Reagan debate, a lot
If
of the
anyone in
women
the
told me
chat
they have
wants
to take
to
off all their
clarify
jewelry
or let me know.
just to be able to go shopping, because otherwise they're going to get mugged. That is the reality that people are facing in California.
Right.
Gavin can try to put lipstick on that pig, but the fact of the matter is he has failed the people of California.
Governor Newsom.
No, I love this guy talking about backing the blue when you dangled pardons for January 6 insurrectionists, 85 of them that were charged with attacking law enforcement. You talk a big game about backing the blue. With all due respect to the crime rate, again, he's not answering the fact that he has a higher murder rate than the state of California, a 66% higher gun death rate than the state of California. And I can easily answer this point. Gun saves lives. I don't think it, I know it. And the data bears that out in the state of California. California proudly does lead in terms of common sense gun safety. Common sense gun safety saves lives. You had the chance to do something meaningful. You had a chance to do something on behalf of those Parkland families. You did the exact opposite. You moved in the exact opposite direction. Look at your own backyard, Ron.
So
You're
I
not
will
mining
do that,
your
but
backyard on this issue.
I will do that because we have we had 2 radical left Soros district attorneys, like your buddy Gascon in LA, one in Tampa, one in Orlando. They were endangering the public, and I removed them from their posts. Gavin Newsom has not lifted a finger to rein in Gascon in LA. That city has collapsed. That county's collapsed because he is not enforcing the law. So that's just the and here's the thing. This is what's happening. That California model,
we're a little over time.
in Philadelphia, Baltimore, all
15 seconds. We got to go break.
Come on. I mean, you're running for president of the United States. You're talking down the great state of California. You're talking down one of the great American cities, Los Angeles. That's insulting. And you're doing it because you're trying to obfuscate the facts that you have a higher
American cities. How dare you besmirch the great city of Los Angeles?
Governor DeSantis, Governor Gavin Newsom on the other side as we continue the great state debate, blue versus red. There's hardly any differences. A lot of ground to cover. Thank you for being with us. We are in beautiful Alpharetta, Georgia.
How dare you, sir? Why did he get so He got so offended.
It's funny because, you know, you're in San Diego County, I'm in Orange County, and we're like friends. And I'll sometimes be like, hey, there's this event that we should all go to Los Angeles. And you're like, we're not going to Los Angeles, Camille.
Are you kidding
like,
me?
How many times have you said that to me? You're like, LA is not a thing, Camille. We're not going there.
It's the one, I think that's why Orange County and San Diego get along so well. Because we're like, we both just hate LA. So
it's not LA.
How dare you besmirch one of the great American cities, Los Angeles?
Okay, so they're not saying a lot of our keywords, so we're all still alive. We should all still be sober.
Yeah, everyone should be like pretty sober right now. I mean, just for outside of Trump, that's all they said.
DeSantis, Newsom truly is so good at deflecting.
Yeah, he's very good at it. Yeah, go ahead. You're
not addressing the fact that your state is, and it's like, well, we did just address it and we said that that's not true and we moved on, but then he just goes right back to that.
Yeah, he'd be like, even when they were showing the graphs from like the CDC or the FBI or the Justice Department, they'd be like, he would deflect it into something else. But that's part of his thing, is he's a very slick politician. And because of that, he gets away with it. It's tougher, I think, when you see the data in front of you and you see that it's the CDC and the FBI and the Department of Justice. It's kind of hard to argue those facts. And then they showed that fact that more mass shootings have taken place in California than have actually taken place in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right. And you want to keep calling out the one and the Jacksonville one, and DeSantis could have easily just been like, well, what about this one? This one is like.
Well, that's also like, I think that's like the Democrats kind of, or I don't know actually who put it into place, but that's just how the law is. What's it? 3 or more people. If there's 3 or more people who are shot, it's a mass shooting. 4 people. So if you really want to kind of compare like something on mass shooting for 4 people, not to downplay it, but I feel like when you say like, oh, mass shooting, you think of Parkland, you think of the Sandy Hook, you think of those, like those are mass shootings.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you think of like, oh, a mass shooting is also 4 or more people, it kind of gets confusing as to what really is a mass shooting. So maybe they need to change what the definition of a mass shooting is. And then we could see in reality what is a mass shooting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's surprising that California, who has common sense gun laws and requires background checks, as every firearm dealer does require a background check, they still had more mass shootings than Florida.
Did you
still
see
got a lot of people with us? Thank you to everyone who is tuning in and joining us. We're more than halfway. We've made it more than halfway already. Looks like we'll have a half an hour left. Again, I think it is a little 2-on-1. I'm just going to admit it's 2-on-1 right now. It's very much Sean Hannity puts out a graph that is California bad, Newsom defend it, DeSantis get the layup. So,
well, Newsom has to literally face the facts in this debate.
Good
Usually,
point.
like they don't have that. Usually, like we're like Hannity. I guess we're back on Hannity before Newsom do these interviews and doesn't even fact check him, and he just like smiles and nods and moves on. And it's like Newsom's lying. Now he's got facts in front of him. So
yeah, he usually does those interviews and he's like gushing all over him. So, but yeah, it's hard to argue against facts that are from what they would call reputable sources, FBI, CDC. It's not like it's like the Fox News poll or something. So.
Classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not
Okay,
occur in kindergarten
before we
through
go
grade
into
3
this next
or in
section,
a
just a
manner that is
reminder,
not age
the drinking
appropriate
rules
or
are
developmentally appropriate
every
to
time
students in
Newsom says
according
Biden has
with
put on a
state
master
standards.
class,
Critics have called the bill, quote,
every time
homophobic.
DeSantis
This is the
says
one they
woke,
branded the Don't Say
2
Gay
sips
bill.
or 2
I
drinks
ask you,
if he
Governor
says woke,
DeSantis,
liberal, agenda together.
in especially
Every
the lower
time Newsom
grades,
says we
should
need to
schools,
meet the
and maybe
moment.
all grades, should schools be
Every time
focusing
DeSantis says
on
folks.
reading,
There's one
writing,
more I'm missing.
math,
Leading
science,
the way.
history,
Newsom.
computers,
Leading the way. Every time Newsom
and
says
maybe
leading the
leaving
way,
values,
and every
considering
time Trump is
parents might
mentioned.
have
So
different values
those
than
are the
teachers at
rules.
school.
I want to say that because we're entering
To the
a subject
parents,
that looks
to
like
religious
DeSantis might say
institutions,
woke a bunch of times.
Or is it the role of the school? What is the role?
The role of the school is to educate kids, not indoctrinate kids. It's not to impose an agenda. It's to do the basics. And what we've said in Florida is it's inappropriate to tell a kindergartner that their gender is a choice. It's inappropriate to tell a second grader that they may have been born in the wrong body. Now, California has that. They want to have that injected into the elementary school. My wife and I have a 7, 5, and a 3-year-old. We don't think that that's appropriate. And I know most parents do not think it's appropriate. It's also important to respect parental rights to know what curriculum is being used in the classroom, and everything should be age appropriate. I actually have something that I brought that some parents have objected to.
Ron
So this
has
is
a
a
prop.
book that's in some of the schools in California. In Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Gender Queer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air. This is pornography. It's cartoons. It's aimed at children, and it's wrong. So this should not be in schools. When people like on the left say that somehow you're banning books by removing this from a young kid's classroom, no, this is not age appropriate. And so we're going to stand for the rights of parents. I think we need to do that nationwide. I don't think you can have a situation where some states just trample on the rights of parents. Parents have a fundamental right to direct the education and upbringing.
By the way, you've been on a banning bench. You have 1,406 books just last year under Ron DeSantis' leadership. I love that he keeps pulling this out. I've seen this. He's been doing this all over the campaign trail. What's wrong with Toni Morrison's books?
It's not banned.
What's wrong? It's not true.
Not.
What's wrong with Amanda Gorman's?
It's not
And
banned.
the poetry.
Not banned. Those are false
1,406.
narratives.
1,406 books
False narratives.
have been banned on your banning binge in the state of Florida as it relates to parental rights. Come on, California, it's in our Constitution, parental engagement. It's called the
Were
LCFF
moved to a
process.
different section
We
of the
actually
library for the middle
parental
schoolers,
engagement
not the
and
elementary
curriculum
schools.
development.
And
we
then
don't
people are like, they
complete
banned
lie.
them.
We don't require
So they
K through
banned,
third grade sexual
elementary
education. That doesn't
school
happen
kids
until
from
middle
reading them,
school.
but they
In
just
one
moved
What
them.
you're doing
school
is
district.
using
In
education
one school
as a
district.
sword for your cultural purge. And you know, with all due respect, you know, I remember in the 1970s, we had a bill called the Briggs Initiative. And there was a guy by the name of Ronald Reagan, so offended by the Briggs Initiative, which was the original Don't Say Gay bill. In that case, it was not allowing teachers that happened to be gay to teach. And Reagan had the courage to stand up and he said, you can't catch gay like you can measles. I don't like the way you demean people. I don't like the way you demean the LGBTQ community. I don't like the way you demean and humiliate people you disagree with, Ron. I really find it fundamentally offensive. And this is a
Okay,
core
I'm
value
sorry.
that
What?
distinguishes the values of
I'm sorry,
my
what?
state and frankly, the
In
vast
what world
majority
does
of
Newsom
Americans
have
against the
any
weaponization of
any
education
authority
and the purging
to
of
say
I have a follow-up
that's a
question
Ron
for you, though.
DeSantis? That's
And by the
all
way,
Newsom
first,
does
Governor,
is
yes or no,
demean and insult people who
are the
disagree
book
with him.
banning issues, is
Oh,
that
if you
not a
voted for
state issue? Is
Trump,
that a
you're a
state issue or
terrorist, you're an
local issue?
insurrectionist, you're a
I
bigot,
feel
you're a
like
racist.
I need a drink to that.
Hey, come on, are you serious?
Governor Newsom.
How many times did he
Some of the books you're talking about, one is
demean
called, the
and
governor just brought
insult
it up,
people
what's
during
called
COVID
Gender
who
Queer,
didn't agree
a
with his
memoir,
lockdowns or anything like
explicit
that, or didn't want to take the
pornographic book showing
vaccine?
sex acts.
So
Another, Flamer,
I
graphic
always
book
find
about
it funny
young
when he
boys
says,
performing sex acts at summer
I get
camp.
so angry that you
This
demean
book is
people.
gay, a book
That's
containing
all
instructions
Newsom
on the
does
ins
on
and
Twitter is
outs
demean
of
other
gay
people and people who
sexuality.
disagree
Let
with
me
him.
finish. Let's talk about it, a book that contains graphic descriptions about how to masturbate for males and females. My question to you, Governor Newsom, those books, do you believe that's appropriate
Did
for school
anybody have
districts
Sean
to
Hannity
teach
saying
kids?
how to
Yes or no?
masturbate on their
Come on,
bingo
those
card?
aren't, that's not part of the curriculum. They're not
Excuse me,
teaching
those
kids
are
that.
that
That's
those are books that were in school.
Hold on. The bottom line is you are on a book banning binge, your state.
Wait, did they ban those books?
1,406 books, 3,362 in this country.
You didn't answer.
Florida's
What about
leading-
those
no,
books?
Florida. That's not, we don't provide for K through third grade education, that kind of curriculum. It's just made up. These guys make it up. It's part of this cultural purge.
Should it
it's
be
just a
what grade would it be acceptable?
What I find offensive, Sean and Ron, what I find offensive is a very significant number of these books happen to be LGBTQ books. A significant number of these books happen to be about African Americans.
Do you think it's
honestly find it offensive? I told you, we don't teach that. We don't teach that. We have sex education in middle schools and high schools where it's appropriate. This is a ginned up, made up issue to divide this country. You talk about dividing this country. This is part of the culture war, the weaponization of grievance. This is part using education. We're focusing on math, science. We're focusing on reimagining our school system.
We're going to get to education.
He's criminalizing teachers and criminalizing librarians. Check out the wrong book.
The schools to impose a liberal agenda, social justice. They have this ethnic studies where they're dividing people.
He said liberal agenda.
Let me just say something about parents' rights, because he says California respects parents' rights. This is Rich. He's been telling a lot of whoppers tonight. This may be the biggest. In California, if you're a parent in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina, your minor child can go to California without your knowledge or without your consent and get hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and a sex change operation, all without you knowing or consenting. How in the heck is that honoring parents' rights when you're bringing people from out of state to go around their parents' backs and getting life-altering surgeries? That is radical. That is
Ron,
extreme.
these kids
that is an assault on parents' rights.
You know what, Ron?
It's not for you to decide. It's for the parents to decide. And the parents do not want their kids going to these other things.
Let me go to a follow-up. Let me stay on a follow-up. Let's turn to the issue of education.
Where's your decency and humanity and grace when it comes
to ripping somebody away.
Gentlemen, please. No, nobody can hear you.
That is wrong. That is wrong.
I'll tell you,
all right.
That should not stand in this country.
Let us turn, gentlemen, if I may, to the issue of education. Here is public school spending per K through 12 students, according to the Education Data Initiative from the U.S. Census Bureau and National Center for Education. Florida spends nearly $12,000 per student, while California spends over $15,000. Florida is ranked #1 by U.S. News and World Report.
That's pretty good.
In terms of state education rankings, California ranks 20th. Governor Newsom, what is your explanation? You spend more money and they have better results in Florida. Why?
I told you what I'm doing in public education. We created a brand new grade, pre-K for all. We're doing after school and summer school for all.
We're doing
reimagining the
in
school
education.
day,
We're doing more school. More school, because
we're
we
teaching
can't
elementary
fit
kids how to
it
pass
into
through.
the same time frame that Florida does. So we're doing more school.
More school.
We have one of the best
Less
records
family
under
time.
COVID, during COVID. And again, you didn't answer to the fact you had more learning
Schools
had more learning loss during COVID. 4th grade reading, 4th grade math, 8th grade reading, 8th grade math. We outperformed you in it's a fact during COVID in every one of those categories. I can't wait to get all the PolitiFacts tonight, because Ron, you keep denying some basic fundamental facts on health, wealth, and education. We outperformed you during COVID. You talk about things to apologize. You should apologize for your COVID record. You were with Fauci. You aligned with vaccines. You aligned with CDC guidelines until you didn't, and tens of thousands of people.
Let's return our focus to education.
Well, when we opened the schools, we bucked all of those people June of 2020. He kept the schools closed for a long time, and that had devastating impacts. And why? Gavin Newsom does in California is kowtow to the teachers union. Whatever they tell him to do, he does. He will never balk the teachers union. That's why the kids were locked out of school for so long. Joe Biden is in the pocket of the teachers. Kamala Harris. That's why they fought school openings when he came in there. When they had that in
Ron, it's Kamala
came
Harris
into office and he
Vice
brought in the
President
teacher union to be
How
able to
dare
do
you.
all these different things to try to keep the schools closed. So the Democratic Party, the far left in this country, they are owned lock, stock, and barrel by the teachers union. I beat the teachers union in Florida to get the schools open, first in the country during COVID, also to do universal school choice. Every parent in Florida has a right to send their kid to the school of their choice. We're winning these fights. California is bending the knee to the union because they control the politicians.
All right, let's move on. A topic that will seemingly play a very large role in the future elections, and it's the issue of abortion. Yes. I have a question for both of you. I'll ask you to please respect the individual's right to answer uninterrupted. And that is Governor Desantis. I think it's actually your turn, Governor Newsom, if you don't mind.
All good.
Most medical professionals believe a baby is viable outside of a mother's womb by between 24 and 26 weeks. That is the general scientific consensus. It changes. There are some variations on it. Abortion is legal in your state, quote, up to viability, is my understanding, unless the mother's health is in danger.
Right.
I'd like to get you on the record. You've been unwilling to answer this question. Should there be any restrictions on the issue of abortion that you support at all? Because funding in California, you have allocated in your budget $265 million for abortion last year alone. My question, very specific. Do you support any restrictions at all on abortion, especially in months 7, 8, and 9, past viability?
I'm going to answer that question, but let's talk about the issue of abortion. Let's talk about the issue of abortion.
You're going to answer it?
I'm going to answer that question. I'll repeat that. But I think this is important and it bears repeating. Ron DeSantis signed the most extreme anti-abortion bills in America. He signed a bill banning any exceptions for rape and incest. And then he said it didn't go far enough and decided to sign a 6-week ban before women even know they're pregnant, Ron, before women can even access a doctor's appointment. So extreme is your ban that criminalizes women and criminalizes doctors that even Donald Trump said it was too extreme. On the issue of the extreme exception that you highlight as it relates to the issue of later term
Camille's just
abortion,
taking a
it's
drink 'cause she can't
almost
take it anymore.
because of fetal anomaly, the life of the mother.
Good call.
And in those rare
I thought you were
cases,
just like, I can't take
trust,
his
in answer to your
deflections
question,
anymore. I'm just
I
going to
trust
start
the
drinking.
mother and her doctor.
So in other words, I want to be clear on this. If a woman and her doctor, for any reason, no, I'm asking.
Extremely rare.
Should there
This
be?
is a canard. I know where you guys are going, Sean. You're even
I'm
uncomfortable
asking.
with this whole issue. And
I watched
understand it.
your.
This is where you guys have to go to cover for the extreme anti-abortion agenda of Ron DeSantis.
Should there be?
Who's hurt your
Would
party.
you support a ban on abortion in 7th, 8th, or 9th month
I just answered the question.
if the mother's life is
It is
not in
an
jeopardy?
extreme exception. People aren't going on and having abortions.
Should it be illegal then?
Unless something
If it's rare,
devastating has happened.
should it be illegal?
It should be up to the mother and her doctor and her conscience. And it
So
almost
the answer is
always,
no restriction.
I've already answered it, and I'll just
restriction.
reinforce it. To cover
Okay.
up, again, no, hold on, for the most extreme abortion ban in the country. I have a simple question, though. This is important.
No.
Will you
I'm
not-
asking the
Ron
question.
DeSantis, will you or will you
My
not
turn?
sign a 6-week ban
Okay.
in the unlikely case you
let me-
become
Governor
president of the
DeSantis,
United States?
let's
Would
talk
you sign a
about.
national ban?
Let's talk about
He
your
won't
state.
answer that. He's
You
getting
had
saved
you
here
had 15
on that
weeks.
fundamental question.
He won't
You had
answer
a
that, but
15-week
you
rule in
haven't
California.
answered
You reduced
that.
it to 6. My question
He
is
did
this.
not.
What
Did
was
he
your
answer?
thinking behind it?
Did he give
Was
an
it for
answer on
religious
whether he would
reasons?
ban it
Was
in 7th, 8th, or
for,
9th? Yeah, no.
Scientific reasons? What was the reason for you from going from 15 weeks to 6 weeks?
Well, I believe in a culture of life. I think we're better off when everybody counts, when everybody has an opportunity to do well. And that bill attaches when there's a detectable heartbeat for the child. And some states have done that. Some states have done others. Some states have done later. And obviously they have a right to do that. But I think about one of our Floridians, a lady named Penny Hopper. She actually survived a late-term abortion back in the day. And they left her on the table there to basically wither away. Her grandmother came, saved her, brought her to a hospital, saved her, and she ended up living a good life. So she counts and she matters. And I think that what the position that we have from the modern left, including in California, is that they will take your tax dollars and they will fund abortion all the way to the moment of birth. He's wrong when he says the later terms are all because of this. 88% past 15 weeks are in fact elective from the Florida data. He doesn't keep data there, but that is really extreme to take your tax dollars and to do this all the way up to the moment of birth. He didn't answer your question about any type of protections at all for a baby that has a beating heart, that can feel pain, that is viable.
Let me, hold on.
Respectfully, this is an important conversation. Will you or will you not support
You didn't answer, Sean. Why didn't you answer his question?
Will you not support
Why didn't
a
you
national
support?
ban if it lands on your desk? You couldn't answer that in any other context.
Okay,
Answer
gentlemen,
it's
we're moving on to the next issue.
No, Sean, not a
You
next
never
issue.
gave a
The
week.
American people should know this. I'll answer
Well,
it
neither.
for Ron
Yeah, well,
DeSantis.
yeah.
Can't answer it. He will
Newsom
sign
didn't
that
answer.
extreme
Okay,
6-week
let me move
national
on.
ban. American people should know that.
I'm calling this the lightning round. It would be great if you guys cooperated. I'm not a potted plant here.
Good.
And I want to ask you, we all know that federal policy does have a huge impact on states. We know that. I'm going to ask you 3 simple questions, and I just want one-word answers, okay, from 3 of you, because
do our best.
We're coming up on a break. And the issue is right now Joe Biden is president.
Yep.
So I would like both of you to give a grade to Joe Biden overall as president. Governor Newsom,
A.
I'll give A.
An A, absolutely.
Governor
I think it's been a
DeSantis.
master
Failed.
Master
failure.
class.
Okay.
No, that's your
Now,
campaign
number 2,
president.
are his policies helping or hurting your individual states? Is it helping the state of Florida?
The inflation is hurting our state big time.
Grade.
Fail. He failed.
Yeah.
He's failed
What
on the
would you-
The
economy.
guy just took
Is it helping
$28
the
million
state of
from the
California?
Science and Tech Act. Thank you, Joe Biden. It's absolutely accelerating our dominance in manufacturing, accelerating our revitalization
Okay,
of
that
our
was a
state.
simple
The answer is
answer.
unequivocally,
Lastly,
absolutely yes.
okay, I will ask you, Governor DeSantis. I have played over and over again, and Governor Newsom, you have seen over and over again. Joe Biden is experienced what I believe to be significant cognitive decline. And in other words, it's the toughest job in the world. Is Joe Biden experiencing this cognitive decline? Is it a danger to the country? Do you find when he speaks, what is your reaction to it?
Yes, he's in decline. Yes, it's a danger to the country. He has no business running for president. And, you know, Gavin Newsom agrees with that. He won't say that. That's why he's running his shadow campaign. He should not be running. He is not up to the job. And it is dangerous for this country.
Well, I will take Joe Biden at 100 versus Ron DeSantis any day of the week at any age. In fact, all of the folks.
You think he's up to the job? You think he's 100%?
I've been spending plenty of time with Joe
100%?
Biden in
Okay.
private
Let
and
him
public.
answer.
You don't know. And by the way, results matter. Inflation now is down to 3.2%. Wages are up to 4.4%. The economy is booming, 5.2% GDP growth in the last quarter. Those are facts you don't hear on Fox News.
Inflation or CPI is only down because it excludes
Now,
the most
on March
important things that people
31st,
actually care about,
1968,
like
President Lyndon B.
utilities,
Johnson famously
gas,
said, "I shall
other
not
essentials,
seek,
because they
and
take those
I will
things
not
out.
accept
That's why
the
inflation is
nomination
down.
of my party for another term as your president." Now, despite being an incumbent president who is eligible to run for re-election, Governor Newsom, I've interviewed you twice on this issue. You say you are not running for president in 2024. In fact, you recently said, quote, you think that Vice President Harris is naturally the one lined up to run for president if Joe Biden were to bow out. Governor Newsom, tonight I ask you, will you make an LBJ-like statement? And Governor DeSantis, you say he's running a shadow campaign. In your response, I would like you to answer that. Will you say unequivocally, under no circumstances are you running?
Correct. I've said, I don't know how many times I can say it, just making this stuff up about a shadow campaign.
If
Bottom line,
if at the DNC convention they come and
Joe
ask you,
Biden-
will you run? What will you say?
Joe Biden will be our nominee in a matter of weeks. And in a matter of weeks, Sean, he'll be endorsing Donald Trump as a nominee for the Republican Party.
If they come to you at the DNC and Joe is incapable of running and they ask you, are you a hard no?
And it's not even optional. He's doing fantastically. I appreciate and respect the work the president's doing and the vice president's, the Biden-Harris campaign and team. So absolutely unequivocally, I look
President
forward
Harris would be the
to
next person.
continuing to support their efforts. President
All right.
Biden will be reelected.
I mean,
Donald Trump
I think
will
what
be
he's
rejected.
saying, I think what he's saying should color every single thing. I mean, I've called him on a lot of the lies, but he says Joe Biden is 100% up to the job. You know that that's not true. Anybody that can look, he wants you to believe him over your own lying eyes. When he says the economy is so great, how great is it when you're going to the grocery store now? How great is it when you're trying to afford a home? How are those interest rates doing? What about affording a new car? So we have to get real here. We have to understand that Biden is not up to job. But here's I think the problem. What Biden would do, the people around him, they would look to California for the model to go forward in the next 4 years. That would accelerate the decline of this country.
Yeah.
Freedom is what works. The failures need to be left in the dustbin of history.
Yeah, tell about freedom to women that you're trying to criminalize in your state. And
All right, we're retreating to old ground. For years,
this notion of freedom,
gentlemen,
Florida is not a state of freedom.
One of the things I wanted to accomplish here is the policies that you both implement have a great impact on the citizens of your individual states. For years, a gallon of gasoline, Governor Newsom in California, has been notably higher in your state than in the state of Florida.
That's right.
Here are the numbers, by the way, recent numbers. The average cost for a gallon of gas nationwide, just over $3.24. In Florida, $3.17. In California, it is a whopping $4.85. So Governor Newsom, I also sued big oil companies, alleging executives have deceived the public about the health of our planet, knowing that it's a polluter. If your lawsuit is successful, that would likely mean higher gas prices, even higher gas prices for everybody. Here's my question, though. Could you name right now one source of energy that can you think of that energy?
Let me touch on
I can tell you what it would be. It'd be nuclear, but they don't want to bring on nuclear.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. Since the 1980s, Republican administrations, Democratic administrations have experienced, under their stewardship, experienced higher gas prices in the state of California. We've been ripped off by big oil. We continue to be ripped off by big oil. Big oil now has met a new foe, and that's the state of California, the most aggressive anti-gouging law in America, more transparency being required than any time in America. And yes, we're suing the industry responsible for this climate crisis. By the way, the same climate.
You are the industry responsible for gas prices.
As human caused.
The fact that he says this with a straight face cracks me up, as if one, the oil companies just go, screw California, we're going to charge them more money because we hate California. And their response is, we're going to sue them because they're picking on us.
Offshore oil drilling. You were celebrated by the Sierra
it's
Club
just
for that action.
he thinks that
you weren't. Once again, it shows that
somehow these oil companies, these big greedy oil companies, are taking advantage of Californians. And since he's launched this transparency project, I thought gas prices were supposed to tumble because they were going to be exposed and they were going to be sued. But I haven't seen gas prices go down at all since he started this.
Again, just more lies. But here's the thing. California is the only one that oil companies are gouging. Why aren't they doing that to Georgia or Florida or these other states that have lower gas prices? Because of their policies. That's why people are paying more there. What Gavin Newsom wants to do, what he's doing in California, what Biden wants to do nationally is government dictated green energy policies. They want to kneecap fossil fuels and reliable energy. We've already seen what's happened in California. They have rolling blackouts. He actually implemented a mandate to buy electric vehicles. So pretty soon in California, you're not going to be able to buy a normal car, only electric vehicles. And they celebrated that as like a great thing. A couple days later, there was a notice from the state government telling all EV owners, do not plug in your EV because they don't have enough grid capacity. So he is walking his people into a big time disaster. What Biden wants to do is he wants to take the California model. He wants to impose that nationally. He wants to take away your ability to purchase the car that you want. He wants to kneecap reliable energy. And he wants to bring these rolling blackouts all across the United States of America. It doesn't work. It's going to cause huge problems. We have more energy here. We can be the dominant energy producer in the world.
Florida,
and that's what we're going to do. Florida is not a big energy state. We have the Marcellus Shale. We have the West Texas. We have all of that.
Is Gavin Newsom
so let's do that. No
pointing out that Ron DeSantis opposed offshore drilling, and that's a bad thing?
We'll continue the great state, red state, blue state debate. More with Governor Ron DeSantis, more with Governor Gavin Newsom as we can.
All right, heading into the final stretch here. I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in and hanging out with us. It's been great. Looks like more people have kind of come on throughout the show. So, quick plug. Obviously, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, share, comment, all that stuff. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live, which is every Tuesday night, usually at 8 p.m. we go live. So if you're new on Rumble or YouTube, thank you for tuning in. It's great to see a lot of people hanging out with us tonight. All right, there were a couple fact checks I wanted to get to. The book ban, that was false. There was a book list that was circulated around Facebook by prominent, like, I guess, celebrities. Mark Hamill circulated it, but it turned out that was all false. So it said it banned books like To Kill a Mockingbird, Catcher in the Rye, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and some Harry Potter books. But that was a false list. So they were not banning the books that they were thinking they were banning. Let's see. The next one, the New York Times actually admitted, this came out just a couple days ago, actually. The New York Times admitted that COVID learning loss was real. And the problem is pronounced in poorer districts like Oakland, California, where the chronic absenteeism rate exceeded 61%. California not immune to learning loss as much as they'd like to pretend. Keeping kids out of school, shocker, they didn't actually help. So yeah, just a couple fact checks there. And obviously the whole gas thing is just so laughable that we pretend it's the greedy oil companies. That's like the left's favorite things. The greedy oil companies are just out to screw us. That's why gas is $5 a gallon here, not because of anything else. So, oh, Kevin Kiley, fact check coming. Newsom claims the nation's current unemployment rate is a sign of the booming economy. California has the second highest unemployment rate in the country. He also said Newsom just posted about California's performance in 8th grade reading. California has the worst 4th grade reading scores in the country. So.
All right. I think Desantis is doing well. I hope he takes
I would say so.
Next week, and can continue this, because I feel like he's done poorly at the first 3 presidential debates. And I know this isn't technically a presidential debate, but I think he's doing really well tonight.
I think if someone could pull him aside and get him to stop doing the awkward stuff, he would look a lot better, because he's a smart guy who can argue. I mean, he was, so he's a smart guy. But it's just funny how it seems like ever since he started running for president, like he's become the most awkward guy in the world. Before that, it just seemed like everything he did during COVID and leading up to his presidential run, he just seemed like the guy. Like, he was so cool, calm, and collected, and he had all the right answers. Now all of a sudden he's doing awkward things, like he doesn't know where to put his hands, and he smiles weird. He looks very robotic. So note to DeSantis team, if you're out there, teach him how to not look so awkward while standing there, because he has good points. But I think I've been enjoying Newsom. What's that?
Who is still in for the Republican presidential? Is it obviously Trump, DeSantis, Nikki Haley? Is Chris Christie still in?
God, is Chris Christie still in? Yeah,
I think he is, and I don't think that Doug Burgum has dropped out yet.
That's right, Doug Burgum is still out there.
Did Asa officially drop out?
No, he's still out there. Speaking of next week's debate, presidential, we're not going to be live streaming, but if you want to listen to our commentary, join us in the California Underground Discord, link in bio on Instagram. When we get closer, I'll put it up, but we'll be talking and chatting in there about the debate. If you want to join us there, we can chat.
Unless you want
alcohol, you don't have to drink. There's no drinking rules for that. So,
big problem around the country. In the state of California, it is 172,000. In Florida, it is 26,000. Now, the per capita numbers are pretty much the same. For California, it is 44 per 10,000 people, while Florida has 12 per 10,000 people. So, Governor DeSantis, I ask you, why the disparity? What are the policies you are implementing that is different from that of California?
California is adopting leftist policies. Gavin Newsom was San Francisco. He put out a 10-year plan like 20 years ago. He was going to end homelessness. Then a few years later, he had another plan. And now he says he's going to do, and it's only gotten worse. In the last 10 years in California, the homeless has gone up 45%. It's gone down in Florida 45%. But it's caused a huge problem with quality of life in California. The people that flee always bring up this. They've really empowered lawlessness and drug use. And, you know, Gavin Newsom at one point tried to say that California was the freedom state. And I just kind of laughed, like, you're locking people down, you're doing all this. But then I thought about it, you know, California does have freedoms that some people don't, that other states don't. You have the freedom to defecate in public in California. You have the freedom to pitch a tent on Sunset Boulevard. You have the freedom to create a homeless encampment under a freeway and even light it on fire. You have the freedom to have an open air drug market and use drugs. You have the freedom, if you're an illegal alien, to get all these taxpayer benefits. So those are freedoms. They're not the freedoms our founding fathers envisioned, but they have contributed to the destruction of the quality of life in California. And the results speak for themselves. People are leaving the state because they have failed in addressing the homeless population.
Well, I love the rant on freedom. I mean, here's a guy who's criminalizing teachers, criminalizing doctors, criminalizing librarians, and criminalizing women that seek their reproductive care. You're making it harder to vote. You're banning books. I mean, spare me this notion of freedom. Ask the folks at Disney about freedom and free enterprise. Ask the folks at the Special Olympics that you threatened to fine with $27
because they were discriminating against the athletes.
Who goes after
those
Special
athletes
Olympians?
to be
When
out
it
of there,
comes to
kids
the
with
issue,
Down syndrome,
Ron, of homelessness.
that is wrong. That's
when it
being a
comes to the
liberal
issue-
bully.
You know,
That's being a bully.
Really?
They had Down syndrome and you wanted to
attacking Special
discriminate against
Olympians,
them.
$27
They
million
were discriminating
fine to
against
Special
because they were
Olympians. I
discriminating
find that
against the
disgraceful.
athletes.
On the
They wanted
issue
to
of
marginalize
homelessness-
the athletes,
All right.
and you wanted the athletes marginalized. That was wrong what you did. These are kids with Down
By the
syndrome
way,
that just wanted to
I
compete.
grew up
and
working
you wanted
aid to
them,
adoption
you wanted them
special
out of the
kids. I've
Special
been
Olympics.
working with
You're a
Special
liberal
Olympians all
bully.
my life.
You
How
wanted them
dare
to be.
you.
You
How
wanted them to
dare
be
you.
I don't know what
ostracized.
they're
You
talking about.
You should
fined
talk to
Special
Isabella
Olympians
from
with
Florida. She
$27
got to participate
million
because
in
we
fines.
stood up for
This
her
is the way
rights.
you treat. Yeah, by the way,
Do you
no,
know
hold
what
on.
they're talking about?
Let me
That
I can
Gavin
handle
Newsom
it.
discriminated against
I
Special
can handle
Olympics?
it. I'm used to that. But you know what?
You wanted her
Your
to
attacks
compete.
on the trans community,
You
your
wanted
attack
her
on the
not
gay
to
and lesbian
compete.
community.
That's wrong.
You attack
She should have been
vulnerable
able to compete.
communities.
And we
You
stood
attack
up for them,
women.
and we made sure they
Again,
could
Ron,
compete.
relax. I can handle it. I'm used to bullying. You're nothing but a bully.
You're a
I
bully.
understand that. Intimidating and humiliating people,
You're a
that's your
bully.
calling
Why
card.
did you want the
And by the
Here you
way,
go.
how well is
How
it going
compete?
for?
Why
How
did you
well
want
is
them
this?
not to
How
be able to
dare
How
compete?
well
you.
is this
Why do you
campaign
not
going?
want them to be
He's
able
not
to
going to let me
compete?
talk.
Besmirch
I don't
the
Talk to
great
understand why
city
you
of
want to
Los
discriminate
Angeles.
And I'll
against
remind
athletes
you,
with Down
Gentlemen, let's
syndrome.
the blueprint,
He wanted them
the
to be
blueprint
excluded
for
from the
Florida.
Special Olympics.
let me
has
Oh,
put
the
Ron
blueprint.
DeSantis 41 points down
Let's go
to
back.
Donald Trump as you try to get tough
We said
and
that.
out-Trump Trump.
Let's go back to
On
the
the
homeless.
issue of homelessness, the issue
Trump.
for decades,
Trump.
decades in the making in the state of California, ever since we started shuttering down our mental health institutions back in the day, in Ronald Reagan's day. The difference is I'm the first governor in California history to take this head on. We are investing unprecedented resources, more accountability. We've gotten 68,000 people off the streets, close to 6,000 encampments we've gotten off the streets. We've also invested in unprecedented resources in reforming our behavioral health system. Ron has literally the worst mental health system in America, forgive me, outside of Mississippi and Texas. And so with all due respect to being lectured on some of these topics, Ron DeSantis is not the one I'm going to be listening
30-second
I mean,
response. You're, well, I'm looking at total time. Governor
Yeah,
DeSantis,
look,
about
this-
2
Give him
minutes.
an extra,
this
he
is-
needs it.
This is a map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco. And you see how almost the whole thing is covered because that is what has happened in one of the previous greatest cities this country's ever had. Human feces is now a fact of life, except when a communist dictator comes to town. Then they cleaned up the streets. They lined the streets with Chinese flags. They didn't put American flags there. They cleaned everything up. So they're willing to do it for a communist dictator, but they're not willing to do it for their own
That's
people.
I want to
that's
get in
just
with the
such-
limited time we have
such
left. I want to get,
nonsense.
there are two very
Such
important
nonsense.
issues we have not hit. After the Hamas terror attacks on October the 7th, we have seen what is nothing short of a disturbing outbreak
Right.
of virulent hatred, anti-Semitism around the world in the halls of our Congress, on American
so
streets, on
while they're
college
going off
campuses.
about Israel.
Outside
Here's the story.
Opera House.
DeSantis threatened to fine the Special Olympics for mandating participating athletes be vaccinated against COVID-19 at its 2022 U.S. Games in Orlando. But it wasn't out of malice, according to DeSantis, because it resulted in them relaxing their requirement.
Israel, meanwhile, is
but in the participation of 100 more athletes in the games from Florida alone. So basically, he did it so that people wouldn't be discriminated against because they didn't get the vaccine, who are special needs. Maybe they couldn't get the vaccine medically. So he helped get more people to the Special Olympics. And Newsom thought he was being a bully because he was finding the Special Olympics.
Israel. I met with families, hostages. I saw videos of children being killed in front of their parents, parents being killed in front of their children. I saw a beheading with a garden hoe. This is not complicated to me. This is a fight between good and evil. Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they need to be eliminated, not just for the people of Israel and Jews around the world, but for the Palestinians themselves. But when it comes to the issue of anti-Semitism, you just mentioned a lot of things that have been occurring on Ron DeSantis's watch. He said nothing.
You're calling him anti-Semitic?
Marching. I'm saying what he countenanced anti-Semitism, and now he's finally talking a big game ever since October 7th. How about the masked man marching in the street? Jews get the rope.
Gentlemen,
you said nothing.
Governor DeSantis,
nothing on these issues. Look at the record.
Governor DeSantis. Than a second Holocaust. They want to destroy Israel and wipe every single Jew off the map. Israel has every right to defend itself to the hilt. Biden should not be kneecapping them in any way, shape, or form. And by the way, Biden stranded a lot of American citizens over there. We're trying to get home. So I did an executive order in Florida over to Israel right in the aftermath of October 7th. And we saved over 700 Americans, mostly Floridians, but not all, because Biden wouldn't do it. Finally, Biden started dumping people in Greece. And then they were sending a bill to the Americans just to get to Greece. If you come to this country illegally, they will pay to fly you all over the place. They'll put you up in a hotel at no expense. But yet our own citizens fleeing a war zone, they're going to send you a bill. Joe Biden failed those people, and we stepped up and got it.
Let me ask you. I want to turn to the
anti-Semitism.
We don't have a lot of time
on your streets for years.
I want to turn to the issue, gentlemen, of China. I talk about this often. Intellectual property theft, unfair trade practices. That China has been hostile to our fighter jets in international airspace, hostile to our Navy in international waterways. We know all about the China spy balloon that happened 8 days right across the United States over military installations. The communist Chinese, they have nationals buying up thousands of acres of ranch land, farmland, and land near military installations. Their hostility towards Taiwan. They are, Governor DeSantis, our #1 geopolitical foe. I don't see that the Biden administration has been tough with them. What would you do differently?
Well, first, in Florida, we banned China from buying land in our state because you're right. You don't want them buying farmland or land. We acted. We also got the Confucius Institutes out of our universities. China should not be involved in our universities at all. What you need to do is you need to have hard power in the Indo-Pacific to deter China's ambitions. You need to take the economy, and we need to decouple from China. We're dependent on them for so many things. And then finally, we need to get serious about their influence in this country. They shouldn't be able to buy farmland anywhere. I can tell you this, I would not go to China and grovel in front of Xi like Gavin Newsom did. He says China's a partner on climate change. China's adding 2 new coal plants every year. China's laughing at us with what they're doing. So yes, they're the #1 threat we face, and we need to take it seriously. And Joe Biden is not doing that.
This is just a reminder. I think it's a question some people are probably asking. I know Nikki Haley's campaign is asking, when are you going to drop out and at least give Nikki Haley a shot to take down Donald Trump in this nomination? She laid you out. You're a walking hypocrite. You're a walking hypocrite on the issue of China. This is the guy that was looking for direct foreign trade from China, was doing trade shows, open up an office.
That's already been debunked. You talk about the liberal fact checkers. Even the liberal fact checkers did
Donald Trump
that.
himself. Red Ron for a reason, because of your complete hypocrisy.
All right, we're almost out of
Again,
time.
Talking a big game. I confronted on the issue of fentanyl, Ron. I confronted them
Not
on
on human rights.
You confronted them on fentanyl, which is pouring across the California border.
And other leaders in China. You talk a big game. Meanwhile,
we're
you haven't
over
done anything
time.
except tweet things
Final
out.
question, Governor DeSantis. We owe you about 90 seconds, but you get the last word as per the coin flip.
What are you giving me? 5 seconds? What do I get?
No, I'll be a little more generous than that. Look, debate tonight. Actually, it's been fun to be a part of. I think the American people will decide. Governing philosophies could not be more different. But let me ask you this, kind of a fun question. You both clearly love your states. You visited Governor DeSantis. You can take as much time as you want. You have an extra 90 seconds. What is your favorite thing about the state of California? And
I give him 5 minutes for this.
Go right ahead.
That's a good question.
All right, we'll stay longer.
When,
5 minutes, Governor.
When I got orders as a Navy lieutenant to go to Naval Amphibious Base Coronado, I had not spent any real time in California in my life. Florida native, and I'm very proud of the state. But I got down there, and that Strand is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And then all up and down, just a tremendous coastline. I do believe California has more natural advantages than any state in the country, which is why when you have so many people leaving on net, that's hard to do. Like, people don't want to leave there because it really is such a beautiful area. And I'm proud of the military installations that are there. I'm proud of what the Navy's been able to do in conjunction with the state. It was really important duty. It really helped forge me as an individual and as an American. And so I'll always have very, very fond memories of that nice Strand down there in Southern California.
I love that. I mean,
what do you
Reagan.
No, what do you? I don't know what you love
Reagan
about
used to call
California.
California a coast of dreams. By the way,
what do you love about Florida?
What I love about in the question, meaning, you know what? We all want to be loved. We need to be loved. We all want to be protected, respected, and connected.
He can't even answer the question. What do you love about Florida?
Well, I mean, Ron, I have no doubt Ron DeSantis loves this country. I love this country. It's not about red versus blue. It's red, white, and blue. The United States of America. And I think we're all better off, and we're all better off. And so I appreciate this conversation. I appreciate you, Ron, being a family man. You got 3 incredible kids. I appreciate your wife, your sacrifice, and I appreciate your military service. But I also appreciate we do have fundamental differences about the fate and future of this country. And that's why I'm going to be working so hard to get Joe Biden and Kamala Harris reelected in 2024.
What do you love about Florida?
You couldn't resist. You had to go right back to 2024. All right, here's the last question. Would you do this again?
Well, you know what?
I hope we could do another half hour. I got all night.
Joe Biden should show up to a debate.
That's why
I have another 20 minutes, and I've got a lot of questions.
I'm happy to.
You want to stay?
Let's just do an extended hour. I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
It's been fun.
I think it's been fun, and I think it's been more entertaining. I'm sorry to the guests that I've been invited. I got to take a break, though, in the meantime. We've got to pay some bills. It's not a cheap set we built for y'all. I hope you like it. Courtesy of your favorite, and you do admit you watch off it. We'll take a break. They've agreed to stay. Well, that's, I guess, the debate on the side. We'll continue on the other side and later have live post-debate coverage. We are in Alpharetta, Georgia, the great.
Okay. I don't know how much longer I want to stay, to be honest. I only had about an hour and a half in me, to be honest.
I don't know.
So,
I got some drink in me. This is fun.
Oh my gosh. How much longer do they want to go?
No, I'm kidding. I'm fine.
I think we got our fill of DeSantis and Newsom. That was their final question. I think at this point it's probably going to go off the rails. All right. Been about an hour and a half, and everyone who's been joining us, thank you so much for tuning in to this live. This was a lot of fun. If you want to continue watching news, but final thoughts on this. I think. Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was a fun debate. I think it was more entertaining than any of the Republican debates thus far because it was actually policy versus policy. I think DeSantis, if you're the DeSantis camp, you walk away from this saying that was an absolute win for your campaign. You needed it. You needed a shot in the arm. yeah, this looked very good for Ron. I think at some points he looked presidential, he sounded presidential. Just you got to work on those awkward movements. You just got to work on it. I don't know what it is. I don't know why you do the weird movements with your arm stuff. And
but Gavin doesn't answer questions. He just deflects.
Gavin does not answer questions. And the fact that he did answer. I was waiting to hear what he, but I guess he doesn't love anything about
Disneyland. My gosh.
He could have said, I love the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
He could have said, I love the Magic Kingdom. It's not as nice as Disneyland because we're the original or something like that. I don't know. So fun debate. I hope everyone who tuned in had a good time. I hope we provided enough fact checking about some context. We were trying to fact check as much as possible throughout this without kind of interjecting too much into the debate and letting everyone enjoy it. So yeah, I don't know. Any other final thoughts before we sign off for the night?
Yeah, I don't think so. That was fun. I had fun.
That was fun. That was our first ever live stream debate. So we'll have to do it again. I was shocked that they didn't violate or break any more of the other rules more than I thought they would. Donald Trump was the far away rule that was broken the most. So, it is what it is. Sometimes you get rules that they always break and sometimes not. I thought I was going to go through more than one beer, but I didn't.
That's why I literally made a double drink just because I was like, oh, it's going to go fast.
Because it's an hour and a half and it's going to go fast.
Yeah.
I didn't go through my whole beer. So not as wild as we thought it was. But yeah, good time. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. A lot of people watching on both streams. So it was a lot of fun. Like I said, before we sign off, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're on Rumble or YouTube, whichever one. Like, share, comment after this, all that stuff helps with the algorithm. And we'll see everyone next week back at our normal time, 8 p.m. with Joe to talk about central digital currency. Correct?
Yes.
Did I get that right? Okay. Awesome.
Something like that.
Something like that. We'll give you more details later. All right. I think I basically said it. And yeah, if you like the show, make sure you share it with people. It's the best way to support the show for absolutely free is share it with other people. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.